All right. So in this segment, we'll give some shout out and flowers to some guys on at Uncharted Talent Sports that actually are doing big things. We got actually three guys in the past week who got either their first offers or more offers. All right. So let's get to it. All right. So the first person we're gonna give his flowers to is Xander Prosper, class of 26, edge, 6'5", 190 pounds, out of Asheville School in North Carolina, formerly of Citadin des Cités des Jeunes in Vaudreuil-Dorion in Quebec. So congratulations, man. After an amazing conversation, got his first offer from USF coach Chad Creamer. So really good job, man. After being named All-State in your division in the North Carolina Independent School Association. Really amazing year. I believe he had more than double-digit sacks. Again, made All-State. You could definitely see a lot of tools when he plays on the field that warrants him getting such attention. Watch Xander Prosper's tape to see why he got offered from USF. You see tremendous bend and around the corner of the edge, gets to the quarterback quickly and repetitively with good flexibility, especially for a guy with a high torso and his height. So what I like is that he has good strength when he tackles. You see guys going on their backs a lot. Um, Whenever he tackles, I'll bet he's not the biggest guy yet, but he has force when he hits. He has a really good motor too, so he doesn't stop on contact even when two blockers put their hands on him, and he still makes plays. Now let's watch him off the edge, setting the edge and stopping bam behind the line of scrimmage. Bam, disruption. That's amazing. So you kind of see why the trade. Think about it. This is someone who's 6'5", 190 pounds. So he has yet to pay above 200 pounds, but he plays with such bend, explosiveness, and force that will only get better with more weight, especially with this offseason. So congratulations, Xander, on your first offer. Well deserved from USF. All right. The next player we will shout out here is CVM Cégep du Vieux-Montréal Zone, Nathaniel J. Blanc. All right. Who has gotten a second offer from Kennesaw State University uh, in the surrounding areas of Atlanta, Georgia, as they are part of the Conference USA. So congratulations, and you are definitely an example that it can be done through CEGEP. All right, and he got offered from a fellow Canadian, Granville Eastman, who's currently the newly promoted safeties coach at Kennesaw State University. All right, he's actually a former CIS sports player who, after he finished his student athlete career at St. Mary's, decided to go through the coaching ranks in the NCAA, and after about a decade or so, even more, he is where he is right now. So congratulations on both achievements. Uh, only only more offers to come, Nate. All right. So now let's take a look at Nate's tape to see why he warrants NCAA D1 offers, even though he's playing his pre-university ball in Quebec. All right, let's look at the tape. So Nathaniel profiles a DNDT 6'3", 250-ish. Big man moving, closing speed. That's really important as a pass rusher. Closing speed of the edge here, and usage and the ability to turn and still get to the quarterback, even though it doesn't finish with a sack. Style of the edge, right? Bam. Great get off, spin move. You see the arsenal. That means he's really well coached up. Bam. Forced fumble, even though the plays past the line of scrimmage. Look at the agility, pliability to redirect and still make the play for such a big man. Nice disruption, causing chaos. Boom at the line of scrimmage. That's really key. He has the intriguing mix of size, power, agility, and the short area quickness and somewhat speed. I mean, again, we're not saying that Nate is a speed rusher, but there's different ways you can get to the quarterback, and I think he definitely shows a varied arsenal that you don't need just straight line speed in order to be able to quickly get to the quarterback and make plays in the backfield. So, and we are at about a minute and a half past, and I'm still hooking to that tape. So you see, guys, that's where it's important to really kind of study and have feedback on what exactly NCAA D1 coaches are looking for, because whether or not you are in Canada or you are actually in the States, coaches need things that actually jumps out at them that fits and meets their need for them to stay hooked. Otherwise, in less than a minute, you've already lost their attention. So now we definitely see why a prospect like Nate can play Sejep ball, go to camps, and still get good D1 offers. So congratulations, Nate. All right, next up is going to be the great Solomon King Solo Efumbajo of Lethbridge, Alberta, who is the first outside of Quebec football player and prospect that is part of the Uncharted Talent Sports family. So, congratulations on your first of many offers, Solomon. So, Solomon is a 6'3, 240-pound defensive end in Lethbridge, Alberta. Please also understand that talent can be found if talent is work to be found. Okay, and please understand, Solomon plays in a league where, or even a province that plays three down football, right? True Canadian football rules, contrary to us in Quebec that play pre-university ball, where we play four down football. But you can see that regardless of different contexts and whatnot, it didn't prevent from Solomon to, if shown to the right coaches in the right network, can still be someone that warrants consideration, albeit he is a class of 2027 prospect. So, congratulations on your first of many offers. And again, it was offered by the great Granville Eastman again of Kennesaw State. So we'll look at Solomon's tape to see why does he warrant D1 offers already at such a young age, being a sophomore. All right, so let's look at Solomon's tape. All right, so let's look at Solomon's tape. Damn. Oof. Powerful hands, good redirect. Can redirect, reset the edge, even though it's kind of sealed in. Still has enough athletic ability to do so. Bam. Pass rushing of the S sack. Love his power, man. The thing that I love about Solomon is he has heavy hands, heavy hands, and he has really good athletic ability to naturally change direction and redirect his angles of pursuit. To even when kind of initially sealed in, he can still go past the offensive tackle's outside shoulder and reset the edge. That's so key as a edge rusher. You also want to be an edge defender as well as a run stopper. So really good stuff. Love the motor, love the juice, and you see why this is the type of tape and profile that coaches would even want to look past the first minute. All right. Yes, guys like that, maybe there's still room for improvement in terms of ends, overall hand usage and, pass rush arsenal. But coaches will feel confident that if, especially if this is a kid with a high character, which I can validate, and great values and work ethic, they're going to be able to coach them that. So that's why, um, that's why Solomon right now warrants full ride offers already from Division One NCAA schools. All right. So now on to the next uncharted talent sports prospect who's really, 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 really blowing up like we thought he would. Just things have to get done in due time. The big, great Musa Sek. All right, so for those who follow, Musa was at McCallie right now, state champion. Congratulations, all state in the state of Tennessee Division Two. So even before he even got to the state, to the states, he already had an offer from the University of Syracuse. Right, that was back on March 7th, 2024. Then, okay, I mean things. We needed to actually turn the calendar year to actually see the next offer. But he got offered from Kennesaw State. All right. But on the same day, he gets Memphis. Pretty good group of five school that I think could be going to a power conference soon. But just yeah, that's his third offer. And then the next day, he gets Middle Tennessee State, and then and home run came right after. He got his first Power Four offer outside of Syracuse, all right, in the SEC with the historic program that is Auburn University. War Eagle, as they kept saying at our visit with Shakai last OV season. So congratulations, Musa. You really earned those five offers so far, and we're only January 29th, similar to how it was last year for Shakar, where he was at six offers on the same day last year. So the only thing we can expect is that February, your phone number will be hounded by offers. So now next, let's see what his tape reveals, even within the first minute of why Musa is starting to be such a coveted commodity. All right, so let's take a look at Musa State from the tape from the 2024-2025 season. Destroying already looks like the biggest player on that offensive line, and he moves people off the line against Baylor School, latching onto blockers, driving all the way 10, 15 yards downfield, helps create big gain. Bam. He put down a guy who was a power four D lineman, I think going to University of West Virginia. And coaches must know these things, man. When you play against competition, iron sharpens iron. Coaches know this, man. Bam. Erase people off the ball. Just a jolt. He has that jolt, man. He has that jolt. He has that jolt. Pass pro, stacking, stalling, boom, create, buying time for your quarterback. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Bam. One thing you don't necessarily see a lot with big guys is a guy like that who's 6'4", 330 pound, light on his feet, in pass pro, kind of like he easy recovery. He doesn't have like brick feet, like the moment he plants, he can't move them. He is really light, balanced, coordinated, I mean, there's still like he has a high torso for sure, and he tends to be like here, he tends to be a bit high, although he kind of gets leverage against a big guy. Some things that Musa and I, we talk a lot is how to be able to learn how to bend and sink his hips a bit more. But I do think that he has the athletic foundation to be trained and grouped that way. You kind of see like what is so appealing. So when coaches actually just simply go visit Mikali and they see the tape, they saw the tape of course before going, and then they see the kid and such a nice, you know, respectful personality, no, not the most talkative, but he's about his business. He's as nasty and mean streak on the field as any lineman. So that's why we're about. I didn't even realize it. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I actually did the full tape. So my guy Musa, man, we totally understand why Auburn wants you. So War Eagle. So with such a dominant tape, we understand why Musa Sek is a highly coveted interior offensive lineman for the class of 2026. Already now with 5 offers, including the last one with Auburn, his first SEC offer. So now he has two Power Four conference offers, Syracuse and Auburn, notwithstanding the group of 5 offers that are pretty strong as well. Um, the sky's the limit for you, Musa. I can only see that in February you're gonna blow up. February, March, similar to what Shakai or something too similar that you can achieve. So with a great offseason to work on your body, you have a really great base of athleticism with your nimble feet and your strength at the power at the point of attack. And then your coordination, flexibility will only get better with proper training. And then in the spring and in the summer, people are gonna see, yeah, this is a future NFL right guard. So shout out to you, Musa. So today we'll talk about why out of the sudden class of 2026 players are blowing up on the recruiting. All right. So far in this episode, we've talked about Uncharted Talent Sports' own class of 26 players that have received offers in this current recruiting cycle. We spoke about Xander with USF. We spoke about Nate Blanc with Kennesaw State. We spoke about Musa, not only with Kennesaw State and Memphis, right? So why are these guys blowing up out of the sudden? Where we're currently in the current recruiting period of the calendar where coaches are closing off on 2025s and starting late January to early February, probably up until spring, is gonna be madness for 2026s for those who are already on coaches' radars. And that's the key point. How can you be certain that you are already in under NCAA D1 coaches' radar? So let me kind of give you a bit of where we are right now. So today we are January 29th, all right? So January 29th, we're technically still in the contact period, if you look here, all right? Where it's green, what is a contact period? A contact period, that means a coach can pretty much call you, invite you over to their school without committing infraction, can even come to your place, right? As a 26 um or as a 2025 that they're trying to close, but even as a 2026, there's different ways. There are not much restrictions in terms of how they can create connection and contact, right? It's pretty open to create a kind of, they can come to your school, and you'll see on Twitter, if you look like schools that we're aware of, because from Canada, we look at guys who are actually going prep and making big things. Schools like Baylor School, Raven Gap, Asheville School, Pennington School, and even Football North. These schools are getting hounded by NCAA D1 coaches who are visiting not their school, not just to continue their relationship, probably if there's still some 2025, to make sure to secure their commitments and in the next national signing day early February, but also to start the process rapidly on 2026. So this is my take on a bit, and based on my experience, how it works. So national signing days, I believe, is gonna be next week at Thursday, I think. Right? Guys are gonna say, hey, I'm committing to signing on the dotted line. Bam, bam, bam. Those guys are gonna enroll next fall in whichever school they're gonna sign on the dotted line for, right? Bear in mind, some guys could still sign up until April 1st, all right? But most guys are gonna end up signing on that national signing day, given that ideally coaches want to make sure that they closed off their classes for 2025 around that date. But then it's a complete focus to 2026's. I remember this time last year with Shakai. Um, at this point, if I remember, so Shakai from mid October 2023 to January 29, 2024, he only had six offers. Bradley had, I believe, one offer. But now let's shift gears from January 29th until the spring. Shakai went from six offers to 38 offers. And Bradley went from one offer to 15 offers. You kind of see where it's going? So it is the time to blow up for you guys that are 2026s, provided you were under the radar of coaches. How? Well, for sure, if you guys have the measurables, the tools, and you play in quality competition that is respected, regional competition, and whatnot, then of course you have an advantage. If you gone to many football camps, maybe if you come from lesser known competition, but you did a lot of football camps and I've proved tangible evidence with clips, videos, things like that. And you've networked with coaches. You didn't just go at football camps and went there and be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to run my 40, do my drills, and then be out. And you don't see connecting with coaches to create an impression on your person and whatnot. If you did a good job at making sure you apply those things the right way, then of course, you are most likely on coach's radar. But if you have not done any of these things, you can share your tape, DM coaches with your tape. You can put your tape on the coaches' posts when they talk about something and you say, Coach, can you see me? And why not? Look at my tape. It won't work. Think about it. If you as one person has access to actually send your tape to coaches that don't even know you on Twitter, how many much more many other guys are actually thinking the same thing that coaches have not even seen at the football camp to evaluate them? Because for most guys, let's think about it. If you even go on websites like 24/7 Sports, On3, Rivals.com, where there are rankings, those guys that are ranked are probably the top 1% of all the guys who are actually going to end up in the NCAA Division One and Division One programs on the full ride scholarships. It's not even everybody who's necessarily there in terms of like player rankings and whatnot. Some of them may have zero star and still appear in team rankings, but at the same time, it's not a reflection of who really got offers and committed, at least not in a year-round basis where you know exactly who actually has gotten offers, is getting interest, and is someone of quality for that level. All right. So all this to say is you cannot base yourself on your recruiting based on the best outcome that you're seeing. I'll give you an example. Mentioned Shakai, right? He had 38 offers. It's not because Shakai's value in the market warranted him getting 38 offers. That means you will get the same, or you need to get the same in order to find the right schools. Maybe you are a G5 guy. Maybe you are a FCS guy. Or maybe your value is you're only a G5 or FCS guy, sorry, if you are a preferred walk-on. That means you may need to start in that school that they want you but don't have full ride rooms anymore. You most likely will have to pay to start, but while you prove yourself, may eventually warrant that they say, you know what, we're gonna cover all your expenses and give you a full ride scholarship down the line. But again, it's just current market level. It doesn't mean it will always stay like that. That's why the point I'm getting at is showing you the calendar is you need to get started on being in a recruiting process. Right now, in February is going to be the dead period. That means coaches can't go to your schools. Um, you cannot go to their schools. And unless you are a 2026 who actually has a number of coaches already communicating with you by phone, trying to get to know you or have started the process, the best thing that you can hope is that coaches keep you on their radar to maybe invite you in March when it's going to be a quiet period, which is a period where you can go visit schools when they have activities like, you know, spring practices, spring games, things like that. You can go visit them. Hopefully, you make enough connections in your local schools, D1 schools, while also in February, you make sure that you post, document how are you really training to be the type of prospect and athlete that they're looking for. So you have to make sure that it's not because it's a dead period that your activity and your work ethic is dead as well. You have to make sure that you show evidence that you're working on it. So that once you go present yourself, because if you're not invited, whose responsibility it is to still present themselves, it's yours. Your responsibility to still present yourself. So I'm going to address this article that was written by clearly a local beat writer that it looks like is trying to make sense of what Coach Marv posted last week that we actually highlighted in terms of his stance on his view on why it is more financially and for your career better for you to head over to NCAA Division One camps instead of spending money to participate in a tournament like Canada Cup. All right, so let's kind of recap a bit what he talked about. He talked about how much whenever you participate in all-star settings like the Canada Cup, okay, the tournament setting. So what ends up happening is that you end up spending more time, more money, thus less time in your off season to prepare for your next season, and also you are, and let's listen to this key fact, you are actually preventing yourself from instead going to camps to V for NCAA offers. Why is that important? Well, simply because we understand that if you look at the calendar of when those settings and tournaments tend to happen, they usually happen at the same time in June and July, where there's NCAA camps all over the United States. All right. So that was Marvin's contention is that you have less time to work out and you have less time to get the exposure you are really looking for. Now, again, what we addressed last week on this channel was we understand that although he's right, but where it doesn't apply to everybody is super important to highlight. It to me, this argument, like we said, only applies to about 15% or even less than that of the players in Canada. At this juncture, there's a useful way that the Canada Cup can be used for someone locally who actually needs more reps to develop themselves as a football player while they keep building on the athlete. But not every player has the same level or they don't develop athletically the same, right? But we all need to become more competitive. So yes, Canada Cup can be useful for the right candidate. For most of the right candidate, it gives you not only a chance to prove yourself against local competition, your peers, because hey, at the end of the day, whichever province you are currently playing football, you have to at least stand out from your peers locally. All right. So that's number one. Now, we also said that for a guy, whether you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you already have evidence of what translates athletically and skill set wise to the states. It doesn't mean that for sure this year you go to camps and you're gonna strike offers. No, we understand on Uncharted Talent Sports that the process of someone not just being offered, but even getting to the point where it's these are serious offers that you're um, you receiving, meaning offer takes. Guys get recruited in the States about 1 year and a half to 2 years ahead of when they're actually graduating. So that's why, to Coach Marvin's point, you actually want to consider getting yourself on in coaches' radars as fast as possible. And if the way to actually do it is going to camp, given that you can't necessarily bank that you will have the time and resources to go to all the events that they may have during the year, whether it's junior days between the months of January and March, whether it's spring ball practices and spring games between March and April, whether, you know, having the luxury to live in a state that is actually heavily recruited and visited by NCAA coaches when you are in your school's spring camps or team spring practices in high school. And thus, what it means is even during the season, you don't necessarily have the luxury compared to your American peers playing football down south to actually do a lot of game day visits every time there's a football game around, like an NCAA football game around your area, to be able to create a relationship with coaches. So you see, just hear how many layers there is to even being in sight and in mind for consideration for Division 1 offers. Coaches today, especially with NIL, especially with transfer portal, they don't necessarily, they even less just offer off of tape. It's tougher to find out of 250 schools that are Division 1, all of them will offer off of tape. So that means there's a certain level of exposure you need to work on. So for guys who are local in Canada, if your only level of exposure is actually going to these camps in the summer, and you do have ingredients, size, speed, skill set, um, profile they're looking for, the academic achievements that they're looking for, then to Coach Mark's point, you probably are the candidate that needs to go out there. But remember, you need to study the game. It can't just be because you think you're good locally that means it's an automatic granted that you go to camps, and because they haven't seen me, so that's why they're gonna offer me the moment I head to camp and ball. No, it's that's where at Uncharted Talent Sports we're trying to really broaden your perspective on what coaches are actually looking for and what makes players down south recruited that you need to implement, whether you're the player or you the parent overseeing your son, to know that where they actually need to be developing. All right. So going back now to this article. Okay. Now the thing about media. Okay, is there a place for media in sports? Absolutely. I think if in sports we didn't have the ESPNs of the world when it comes to general media reporting, or in Canada TSN, or in Quebec RDS, um, I think there would have been a lack of spotlight publicly, um, and less interest in the sport. But so, yes, media platforms create interest to the sport, but doesn't mean that everyone who writes is credible. It's for us to really make sense of what is written. Like, for instance, when I go to ESPN, when I go on their website, the thing that I expect is an article just talking about what's happening, NFL draft wise, what happened in the game, or but if there's speculation about something, it's just speculation, but it's not one's opinion. Same thing at TSN, same thing on RDS, or even when you go on websites like 24/7 Sports, On Three, Rivals, when they talk about the prospect, or on podcasts in regards to recruiting, it's usually what we call unbiased journalism. But let's take a look here. This is an article that from a local Quebec beat writer that from the bat talks about someone in conjunction to what Coach Marvin posted last week, already from the bat calling out someone not worth giving more visibility to. And agents and mentors like these are hypocritical when they repost things what Coach Marvin is doing. But who are you talking about? So, okay, let's say that person's role is to being a blogger in this. Well, even if your role is as a blogger, what really is your mandate? Your opinion or just what's happening? What happens now is that, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say that the local beat writer is indirectly trying to talk about someone like me who's helping guys getting to the States, getting offers. Yeah, I take pride of that. If, of course, if I'm a person that is being targeted here, but that's not the point really, because that's a different topic. But the thing that we are talking about here is simply, why do you need to name call? Because someone is helping kids and their parents figure out how they can better their opportunities. Like someone like me who has actually helped a lot of kids that have been cut by Team Quebec, that necessarily didn't make it to Team Quebec. Okay, or let's say here in this article, he or she mentions CFC. Whoever reposted Marvin's thing is hypocritical because he's saying ha, Marvin, yes, you're right for these type of things, but yet whoever is promoting CFC. Remember earlier when I mentioned that calendar wise, if you are to choose between going to NCAA camps and partaking in the Canada Cup tournament, it's not compatible. Okay, so let's say whoever's promoting CFC is an hypocrite in this topic. Do you know when the CFC game is actually happening in the recruiting, parallel to the NCAA recruiting calendar and camps season? It's happening right before it. Proof in the pudding. This year, the CFC game, is either going to be on May 23rd or May 24th. The first NCAA football camp that I know will happen is May 31st on a Saturday. And usually, if you look traditionally, CFC usually plays no later than the last Friday of May. So, what does that mean? Let me give you an example. The first time I've helped CFC and attended their game in Ottawa, what ended up happening is I had the luxury during the weekend to bring kids to the NCAA camps, no conflict of interest. The difference is that when kids, again, are trying out for Team Quebec, if let's say they had the desire to go to camps, it just so happens that kids instead are called to come do tryouts, probably the same weekend I'm going to camps with players. So what does that mean? It simply means that the player who wants to do both, camps and Team Quebec cannot do both. The player who wants to do CFC and go to camps can actually do it. But remember, there's a difference also in time you're actually spending in both platforms. Hear me out. Someone trying out for, let's say, a platform like CFC, you're probably going to do only one tryout in your province. For instance, this year, for those who are in Quebec, there's only one tryout May 30th in Montreal. But they are holding out tryouts. What are tryouts in, let's say, in a setting like CFC? Yes, they recruit you off of tape, but they also want to see how athletic you are currently, to see a mix of that, who makes the team. It has nothing to do with your achievements on the field other than what your tape is saying. So it doesn't matter whether you made all province or not, all league or not. But we understand that those guys who do those types of achievements are most likely going to get those types of interest. But it's a different evaluation scale. Now, I'm not saying that Team Quebec doesn't take in consideration how athletic you are or how big you are and stuff like that. But there's a process where they're trying to build the best team for a tournament. And they also have to go with who they're from much as possible, who they're familiar with in a short period of time. So they don't even the coaches don't have an easy task in assembling a team, because the goal is to beat other provinces teams and winning the Canada Cup, to say you're the best province playing football. But it doesn't mean it's the best of the best. Even CFC, it's not always the best of the best, but the spotlight is based on athleticism, based on your tape, where you're probably someone we think that with great coaching could get in the highest levels as possible. Do they do that at settings like Team Canada Cup? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not in it. I don't partake in it to really be able to decipher that. I just, from what I've observed, definitely, it's definitely more based on what you can give me today, skill wise, than your upside. Because these coaches don't have time to invest in you, time to give you exposure and love that way and coaching accordingly. They have to make sure that you bring the skill set they need for such a short period of time. So let's just say, in short, in a setting like Canada Cup, it's all about your floor, but a setting like CFC is all about who probably brings the elements of the some level of floor, but the highest ceiling compared to their peers. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, write in the comments, give me your feedback. But going back to this article, all right, media is important, but also media can be misused. First of all, if you're only depicting a situation that actually happened without seemingly seeming as if you are probably calling names or saying that someone is doing something heinous, like he is spitting at what is going on here, whoever you're talking about, and that's his way to make money, you're actually bringing a judgment on somebody. Have you ever seen an article on ESPN, on TSN, on RDS about someone who's trying to, oh, be careful of this, be careful of that person, be careful, without even not saying that? Even recently, you see guys being, on ESPN, let's say when Deshaun Watson had this thing, they said he's allegedly going through a situation where he's being accused of this. But they don't give their opinion on the effect that it creates. They're just writing about the fact. And then in this article is what mixing what he apprends of somebody else with what Marvin is saying in terms of you risk getting injured if you partake in these events. And again, tax credits as a why you shouldn't diminish the value of Team Quebec, not Canada Cup, Team Quebec, and having local recognition, local beat writer recognition. You can have that at any level, even in nine-man football. Even nine, they do banquets there too. And also, there are layers of recognition, if you get what I mean. Because if someone has never done Team Quebec, but has legit NCAA offers and is going to a Division One NCAA school, people not just in Quebec, not just in Canada, but in the States will know that person for that level, not for what they did or did not achieve here. So if you're trying to create um, a precaution to parents and players, or don't spit at these, at least you be a bit more responsible in doing it the way you're saying you have to do it, calling both sides of the medal, which clearly this beat writer is not doing. He's only talking definitely about the side where he or she feels that whoever's doing what they're doing because of a repost, they're spitting at what coaches in Quebec are doing. Let me give you an information that maybe you did not know. Hear me out. For those who don't know, I'm actually the head coach for the Laval Bulldogs Bantam team. So what does that make me? It makes me a local coach. Oh yeah. Even when I was highly involved in recruiting and exposure, guess what I was doing? I was involved with the junior football team, Le Loup des Nord, Loup du Nord, sorry, doing the huddle, but also being an assistant D-line coach. Again, I'm not saying they're trying to call out someone like me, but just in case, I need to clarify a few things. Because whether or not that beat writer is doing that, my role today is really to educate you, the audience, parents, players, to know that there's a place for every type of potential players, depending on your level of competition. So you can be empowered to see for yourself, to ask the right questions. What are the right questions to ask? Is my son right now physically ready to even do something like Team Quebec compared to his peers? Where can I get that validation from? Where can it be tested? The only way you can really test it sometimes is at local events like Team Quebec tryouts and CFC tryouts. Or when there's different settings like All Athletic with JH Nor, where we're able to test your son's athletic prowess and football skills and give you feedback. So, yes, you should definitely be willing to spend money if the feedback for the value your son brings to football, that's the best thing that can help him become more competitive and develop for your sport. But listening to stuff that create a fear factor without going to the source, which clearly that beat writer is doing right now, clearly not knowing what they're talking about at all, suggesting that someone is sending guys to Tennessee prep schools. He's saying that whoever they're talking about, they don't want you to spend money on Team Quebec because they want you to pay that person instead to send your kid to the States in Tennessee schools. Really? I think that beat writer doesn't even know that there are way more states that can have prep schools. If, let's say, you want to know at Uncharted what we do, yes, great relationship with prep schools in the States, especially in the state of Tennessee. But we have some in Georgia, North Carolina, Connecticut. There's also Massachusetts, New Jersey, hopefully, maybe Pennsylvania, things like that. Heck, For what I know, maybe we'll go JUCO too. Who knows? Does that mean that everyone will be brought in the boat? Nah. But Quebec, are you scared when I bring 6 to 7 players to camps and they have to pay something to cover whatever fees they need to pay in order to make that trip happen, just for the chance to see if they don't have the value to play at that level? And then when they go there, we remember them as Quebecers or Canadians? Is that really what's happening? Because if it is, please let me know in this channel, in this video. Leave comments if you, as a fan of football, of local football, if 6 to 7 or 10 players even go to camps with the amount of players there is right now playing football in Quebec with all the programs we have, do you really need a beat writer to feed into the fear of losing players? Because some chosen few are actually meeting the needs of those level of competition and opportunities. And is it really worth it to involve a reputable personal trainer, not a guy who helps out kids going to recruitment? Because for those of you who know Coach Marvin really well, Marvin is not involved in things to connect guys to prep schools and placing them. But it's not even a wrong thing or a bad thing. It's actually pretty useful because think about it. If you have someone who actually is able to kind of tell you the process of how it works, how much time as a parent do you really have to do that research by your own while you are raising your children, going to work, paying bills, and things like that? You don't even have time to be a homeschool teacher for your own child. That's why you send them to public or private school where there are trained teachers. So imagine for something like that where there's an important potential opportunity, thus decision to make, how much more it's important to get the right advice that is educated on the topic. So if the tag, when people touch that link, it automatically means that they're spitting at local coaches or a particular province like Quebec, go ask that beat writer this. Did you go to the source first before writing your article? Or are you only basing yourself of what you think may and what you don't like, personal feelings? Up to you, the public, to decide how much credence you're giving to that. But me, why I needed to do this when I was brought this article to my attention. People know I'm attached to CFC to an extent, although I'm really, really building something where I'm dissociating myself to that. As proof as with this channel doesn't mean, hey, I'm still helping CFC figure out who they should invite for their camp. Don't get me wrong, but I'll help different organizations depending on how much it brings back to the players. But sometimes I think because we have different view on the matter, the issue is that we're not teaching the kids how to act any differently on the field, off the field, when they can have different views, values, views, are just something different, and we cannot coexist. Someone has to say how they feel in a way that attacks to make your point strong, but it doesn't because it's not construction, it's not tangible. Heck, it's more destructive than you actually think it is. So that's why the audience, I can only help you making sure to know whenever you want me to depict an article as much as I see fit for the process of making sure you guys are equipped in terms of knowing the lanes that you can give exposure, development, be resourced, informed, and whatnot. I'll do it. But your role is to decide if those types of article written by local beat writers or even whatever inter-provincial, interstate, or international beat writers is even worth your time. Why would you spend time listening to things that will only give you fears and not empower you? There's a place for everything, but you have to make sense of what makes sense for where your son is at. That's why get your son evaluated for settings or for evaluations, and get information for a lane you're trying to maybe see as an opportunity for your son, by people who have a proven track record in it or seem to necessarily to have maybe the network to get the information for you. So I hope that was helpful and constructive. In conclusion, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode of Uncharted Talent Sports. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow our channel, and you share with your friends for continuous content when it comes to football recruiting topics from Canada, especially in Quebec. So thank you so much for following, and see you in the next episode.